You're like,
we're on. It appears we're going. So, happy Wednesday, everyone. It is Wednesday, July 15th, and we are rolling into another episode of Live and answering some questions, doing that. I guess this is kind of the newer version of Coffee and Questions. So I'm answering questions and showing some sound carvers of the day, and hope you guys are doing well. Thanks so much for all of the love, you guys. I got a bunch of feedback on the review on the router this morning, and you guys seem to like that, get a lot out of that, and I really like that router. It's just that little side mechanism thing that I don't like. Who? Artie?
just not talking to you.
All right.
It's not all about you, dude.
That's a surprise. All right, I'm going to jump right into the questions, and you guys ask questions as we go. Vicky will try to keep track of them. So I have Rob, I think it was Rob Duberson, asked, you mentioned that you have a laser. Have you ever used it to etch your pattern on the sign? I would like to, I would think that would work really well. I get basically burn, and it would basically burn a line in. Man, I'm paraphrasing. Obviously, Rob wrote it much better than that. Anyway, he says, my son-in-law has a cheap Chinese laser, and he said it'll take a 24 by 24. I was thinking about trying it. I was curious if you ever did. Yes, I have. I've actually done it before we had a laser. There was a sign that I did that was a lady ordered from us probably 6-7 years ago. And there's somebody here in Golden Valley at the other end of the valley, a trophy shop, that had a big laser. And I let them I took the artwork to them and let them lay it out for me. And it was really detailed. And if you guys remember one of my favorite movies from probably the 70s, no, maybe the 80s, American Werewolf in London. One of my favorite movies of all time. Anyway, there was a little place that the guys stopped at. It was this little bar pub thing, and it was called the Slaughtered Lamb. And it has a really cool logo of a wolf with a dagger through it. Anyway, I did a sign like that. One of my favorite signs ever. I love that artwork. It was just so much fun to carve. But it was laid out actually with the laser. So let me show you. And I actually have, you guys know I showed the pine last night. I've actually got a couple signs here for an order that I've laid out with the laser.
All right, hold on.
I don't know. So in essence, what Rob is saying is exactly the way I've laid these out. This is for a series of restaurants. And every time they get a new general manager or they change chefs or anything, they order a sign from me, and this is how I lay them out. I've done it several different ways, but this is how I've laid them out. So I actually have two of these. That's one for two different restaurants, and then here's the second one. But basically, with the laser, we've got it running at 100 speed and 5% power, and it just basically scribes a line in there. Now I will take that and I'll follow that line with my router. Probably carve it with my 60 degree. Maybe if I get it done tomorrow, I'll show it to you tomorrow night. I'll probably show it when I get it done. Anyway, that's and by the way, guys, that's our great customer. I probably have $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 of business that I've done over the last 3 or 4 years just with this chain of restaurants called Saddle Ranch Chop House. They've got a bunch of different restaurants. Anyway, yes, a laser can be used for layout. So I hope that answers Rob's question. Question number 2. This is based on a phone conversation that I had yesterday, and I think it was, the gentleman's name was Steven. He was telling me that he was having some issues with bleeding. So I kind of went through a whole process with him, and I asked him all kinds of questions, which I have to kind of go back to the beginning and use a process of elimination. So he told me he's using poplar. He's doing inset letters on poplar with a profile bit, and he is doing the cleanup with his 60 degree. And that so he's using 2-inch and 1.5-inch letters, so that sounds about right. And he says the first thing he wanted to go over is his he was using sanding sealer on it, and he was having trouble with his discs on his sander, or he said he was getting his sander was gumming up. So I went back to the beginning and I asked, first thing is that, okay, you're using poplar. I've never, and maybe you guys are different, I've never had to use sanding sealer on poplar. So as far all the poplar that I've carved white poplar and the regular poplar that they have here, which I don't really like because it has a green color to it, just not my thing. But I've carved it and I've laid it out, and I've never had to use sanding sealer with it. But he's getting bleeding even with using sanding sealer. So first of all, I told him I don't use sanding sealer on poplar. I just have never found it necessary. Secondly, if he is getting bleeding and he's using sanding sealer, there's no doubt in my mind he is overspraying. He is just spraying way, way, way too heavy. Because if you're getting bleeding on poplar and you're using sanding sealer too, you're spraying way too heavy. And that's just a common thing. You guys know that I talk about that a lot. So that was one thing. Then I went into, okay, the problem he was having with the bleeding, or not the bleeding, but the gumming up of his sanding. And so I asked, what kind of sander are you using? And he's using a random orbital, probably like my DeWalt, 5-inch or 6-inch random orbital. Well, number one, that's not the sander that I would use to rough sand. Number one. I asked him what grit he was using, and he was using, I think he was using like a 180 or a 220, and that is just, there's just no way you're not going to gum up. Even if you didn't have sanding sealer on it, if you guys use that fine of a disc to do your initial sand, if you've got black on there, it's going to load up. Guaranteed, it's absolutely going to load up. This sanding sealer will make it even worse, and that was the problem. So number one, my advice to him was don't use sanding sealer on poplar if you can hold yourself back from overspraying. But if you're going to use sanding sealer on poplar, and if you're going to use that sander, get a 40 or very, very, the minimum is a 60 degree disc on there, and that
a 60 grit.
A 60 grit, yeah, I said degree. A 60 grit disc on there, and that might not load up. But anything higher than that, 80, 120, anything like that is going to load up almost guaranteed. Now, the disc sander that I use, that Frank got and a lot of you guys are getting, that's a different deal. That thing, you use an 80 on that, and that will take it right off, whether you've got sanding sealer or anything, because it turns so fast and it sands so good that it will take that off. Probably it'll gum up a little bit, but probably not very much if you keep that thing moving. So what else? Oh, and I also told him he was only going with his profile bit, and he was doing inset letters. He was only going 1/8 of an inch deep on the inside of 2-inch and 1.5-inch letters. I said that's not near deep enough. So what was happening is he was going around the inside of the letter with a profile bit. A lot of you guys cut inset letters with a profile bit. There's no problem with that. But if you're going to do it, you got to go deeper than 1/8 of an inch. Because I told him my prediction is your letters are turning out really skinny and you're getting a lot of high spots. Because when you only cut at 1/8 of an inch, you're not cutting with a profile bit, you're not cutting a very wide line. Even if you're using an old profile bit that's fat, like my used profile bit that cuts a fatter line, even at that 1/8 of an inch is not a wide enough line. And that means when he goes in with his 60, he can't get over to the edge far enough without taking a chance of hitting the inside edge of that letter that he's going to end up with a lot of high spots, and that's exactly what was happening. So I predicted that was because I was picturing it in my mind. There's no doubt he was getting a lot of high spots. So I convinced him you got to go minimum of 3/16 deep with a profile bit if you're doing 1.5 and 2 inch, maybe even deeper than that for 2 inch. But you should easily be able to go 3/16 deep on an 1.5 clear, and they were Clarendon letters. And that will cut a wide enough line that you don't have to get so close to the edge with that 60. I suggest on the 2 inch you use a 90, but either way. But he says his customers really like a lot of texture in the back of those, or on the inside of those inset letters. So that was a lot.
So Scott Christian says, I use an 80 grit for the first sand and I don't have a problem. I use the Black & Decker 5-inch orbital sander.
5-inch random orbital, and you're using an 80? Well, I would suggest, I'm surprised at that. There's obvious, Scott, number one, you're not over sanding, you're not over spraying, so that's good, because otherwise I think you'd be gumming up your belts. If you're using sanding sealer, if I'm going to use the random orbital, I'm going to use a 60, and then I'll go back and I'll clean it up with an 80 or a 120. On my random orbital, I have a 120, but I start my sanding process with my disc sander.
Jason Harrison said the sander you use is not available in the UK or anything like it.
Really? I'm shocked. I'm surprised. Now remember, Jason, all of the DeWalt stuff has different part numbers in the UK. The 611 is a DWE or something. It's a completely different type of part number. But there's no disc sanders. Now, I will tell you that the disc sanders that traditionally that I remember growing up, they were used mostly in automotive, like body shops. They use disc sanders when they're grinding down their primer and stuff when they're doing body work. So it's the same kind of sander. So maybe look in that regard. Look into what they have available for body work, for body men, as far as a disc sander. But I can't believe that they don't have disc sanders in the UK. Anyway, check that out, Jason. Maybe that'll help.
David Kern says, howdy, always good to be in company, my favorite band of knotheads.
Hey, David. Thank you, I think.
Tessa says, you are not worried about the grain of the board. Seems like when I have a board like that, it feels like I'm hitting speed bumps. I'm not sure.
The grain of the board when you're using a disc sander, it makes no difference. I haven't had any issues with that at all. It sands it down, and it doesn't seem to make any difference at all. For me, I don't know. Something's going on there, Tessa. I don't know. I got to get more information on that. I don't know why the grain of the board would have any regard if you're using a random orbital or the disc sander. The belt sander I can see, but because that is you're going with the grain. But the disc sander is rotary, so I can't imagine why you'd be having problems there.
Frank Jenkins says, Eric, would you mind if I posted the link to my review of the disc sander here?
Absolutely not. I don't. Doesn't bother me at all, Frank. You did I watched that video. You did a great job on that video. Yeah, and then I watched a couple of the other videos. A video that you did 3 years ago about how you got into sign carving. Thank you so much for all the love, my friend. I appreciate so much how you mentioned us and talked nice about us.
Jason says, I've contacted DeWalt, not available.
Well, check with another brand, Jason. Check with another brand, because there's got to be something over there that somebody's using for disc.
He said the only ones look like an angle grinder.
They look like an angle grinder. Well, that's a different thing. But that might work, honestly. If you can get discs, sanding discs to fit on an angle grinder, it could theoretically work. I mean, our angle grinder, because I know the angle grinders, you can get them with a handle, just like my little pistol grip DeWalt. So that might work. That might be what body people, body men over there use. I don't know. Check that out. That's an interesting idea, though.
Bruce Peters here. Richard Barclay.
Hey, Bruce. The only thing with the angle grinder, though, you'd have to get a mechanism that would be the hook and loop to hold the Velcro or the hook and loop discs. My angle grinder uses nothing but like literally grinding wheels or flat discs or that kind of thing. You would want to be able to get a mechanism that would hold a sanding disc.
He said he's still looking. He'll let you know for others.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know, because that there's got to be an alternative. There just has to. I just can't believe that there's not an alternative.
Say hi to Bruce.
Hey, Bruce. Bruce Peter. Good to see you, Bruce.
Frank says thank you for all you do for all of us.
Thank you, Frank.
Rigoberto Garza said, hi guys, trying to keep safe here in McCullen and Edinburgh, Texas. COVID is going crazy. Too many close friends and relatives positive of COVID-19.
Wow. Prayers, my friend. Prayers for you and the family. Hopefully we'll get past this thing soon. Anyway, I think I hit all of those high spots, all of those spots on my conversation with him. So he was definitely overspraying. So, and that's easy to do with the primer. If you're using the Rust-Oleum primer, that has a nozzle that comes out really fast. So you've got to keep that can moving and go back and watch.
Hi, Keith.
There's a video that I did that has the word experiment in it, where I did 5 outset S's, and I did 5 different versions of spraying, from really super light to really super heavy. And that really, until you actually do it, it's like I explained to him, it's like an optical illusion. Until you sand it off, you're just looking at all this black, and all you see is places where you can see the black through there. But once it's sanded off, it's just simply is not that way. So you guys got to find that out for yourself. That's such a common mistake that most people are making. So,
Leon, I don't know what you're saying. Move your is little closer. No idea. Okay,
what?
let's do your sign carvers.
Okay.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, sign carvers of the day. We've got a really good group. Wind's starting to kick up. I'm going to need another bag here. David Carlberg. Very first sign, which is really impressive for a first sign. The picture is a little bit blurry. So when I printed it out, because I think it was a small picture and I had to blow it up. But amazing. For a first sign, great. And those are our fatty font letters, by the way, guys. Those are what I really, if I was starting from scratch, that is probably would be my go-to font, because it is so forgiving. All right, next, Jim Moore. He just started carving, has just actually started, and the freehand the stars and the logo are both free-handed, which is pretty incredible for just starting out. Great job, Jim. Beautiful sign. It's a great niche.
Move your microphone closer. That's what he's saying.
Am I not talking loud enough? Okay.
That's unusual.
Yes, it is. Darren McEvely, first sign, and Darren is from London. This is from Lord of the Rings movie, and it is the Rohan flag. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I've seen little bits and pieces of it, but there's some people that are really into it. But so that for a first sign, oh my gosh, that's crazy good. Great job, Darren. Hope you're watching. Great job. incredible. Danny Meadows. Danny here? Have you seen him?
I haven't seen him.
So Danny has been on Sign Covers of the Day a few times, and I'll tell you, every sign that I see that Danny's doing is getting better and better. Terrific job, buddy. Very nice. He's probably busy. Danny's a busy guy. Paul Simons. Really neat. I'm not sure what the corn represents, but
Maybe they're having corn ranch, or
maybe they grow corn. I don't know.
I think we have a couple more questions.
Maybe they're children of the corn.
Oh.
I don't know. Anyway, great job, Paul.
All right, I'm
Love
going to
it.
back up and see if I can find some of these questions.
Sure. Wind is getting my eyes today. Yowza.
Let's see, I got to go all the way back up here, so bear with me, guys.
So I hope everybody's doing well. Everybody's staying safe and hunkered down, I guess.
Like you have much choice, huh?
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Let's see.
Oh, here's the that's the logo. This is what the restaurant sends me when they want the signs, the two that I'm doing for the Saddle Ranch restaurant. They just email me these, and that's what I use to do my layout on. But and in case you guys are wondering, I'm getting 140 a piece for these. So pretty nice order. $20 to ship. That's $300. Not bad. It's worth it.
Rob. Oh, never mind. Yeah, we said that. Sorry, I know some people were asking, but I had to go up to the top.
Hang with us, guys. Vicky's getting to your questions. If I knew the Jeopardy music, I would hum it.
Let's see, hold on. Okay, guys, if I didn't ask your question, just ask them again, because my little tiny space here to see something is just not working. All right. If you had a question and I didn't get to it, post it again, and I'll do what I can.
Ask your question. We'll hang around for a few minutes. Shoot.
Frank said, I'll start laying out that big oak slab tomorrow. That sucker's heavy. It looked heavy.
It looked really heavy, and oak
What
is
a beautiful board, though.
the,
Oh, my gosh.
about the heaviest you can get. That looked like it needs a
Leon
crane.
Davis says, your experiment with the light to dark S's was hashtag 262.
262? Oh, thank you. Who said that, Leon?
Leonard Davis.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Tessa, I know you said you asked a question, but I can't find it, so you want to ask again. Where do you find the t-shirts? Under merchandise. Merchandise.
Or you can, I think you can type it in the...
You can type it in the search engine, yeah.
In the search window at the top, or look at the site map.
Oh.
Whenever I have to find something, I go right down to the bottom to the site map, and everything is there.
Somebody said something about looking forward to Saturdays because they'd like to see us together, but I can't remember who that was.
Well, Vicky has agreed to at least do one more Saturday.
Charles Rooster says, if you guys don't end up doing a seminar in September, October, how much would it cost for you to teach a handicap, meaning me? Millions. Millions. Where are Toot and Snort and Magnum? They are in the shade somewhere nice and cool. Probably laying in the water, laying in their pool.
Yeah. They don't get around out here too much. I don't know why, because it's actually not that bad. It's pretty nice out here, actually.
Yeah, but they're back there where you feed them. They're hungry.
Yeah.
Eric feeds them after we get done.
Right after we get done with this, I go and I feed them. And we've switched their feeding time from 5 o'clock to like 6:30 to 7 o'clock. And they're still not happy with me about that, but that's the way it goes.
Oh, Tessa said, when she was asking about the green, about how to cut on the green, she said, when I asked about the green, I was talking about routing. I posted when he showed that board.
Oh, about routing. Well, that's a different deal. That routing is a different deal. That's a problem that everybody has, is when the router hits a grain.
Good night, Tim.
So, in regards to that, Tess, I don't know if you're having a problem with the router kind of going sideways with you when you hit the grain. There could be a lot of different factors there. Could be going.
Hi guys.
Everybody wanted to see.
There you go, Frank. That was for you.
I don't know, Tessa. There's so many different factors there, but you might be going too deep. If you're having that issue, my go-to answer is go 2 different passes. Go 1/8 of an inch first, and then go down and go your second pass, and that should be easier to hold that line when you hit the grain. That's my standard go-to answer. There might be other issues there, but I don't know what kind of wood, and there's all kinds of different possibilities.
Or it was Rigoberto Garza, I think, that said he looks forward. He said he won't miss Saturday.
Yeah, we got some. We'll have some good stuff to share on Saturday.
Hello, guys. Okay, it says Stacy and Chad. Who is that? Chad or is that Stacy that's on here?
Or maybe it's both.
She says, I was wondering if you were worried about it with those boards. With these boards?
Oh, worried. Tessa says that?
Yeah.
Oh, worried about hitting the grain? No, not really. Not really. I keep my, there is a pretty good grain on those boards, but it's still pretty much a flat grain. It's not really a vertical grain. Let me see if
he said it's Chad.
Oh, it's still pretty much a flat grain. It's not a vertical grain this way. So I don't worry about it too much. This Select Pine normally cuts pretty well. My bits, I keep my bits pretty sharp. I'm going to probably use a 60 degree on these. And
Artie Borger says, I'm going to say goodnight. I got stung by a nice bee right on the foot.
Ouch.
We need that.
All right, we're out. That is it, guys. We're going to sign off now. We'll be back tomorrow night. You guys will see another video from us in the morning on YouTube. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. If we didn't get to your questions on here, please email them to me, because if you put them on here, generally there's hundreds that I go through and I heart everything, but it's really tough to answer questions here. So please email them to me directly, eric@makeawoodsign.com. Anyway, good night, guys. We love you, and
bye, guys.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.